Please take the seats. We are about to start. Sì, sì, se lo può fare. No, lo posso vedere dopo, ma adesso mi ricorderò di tenerlo. I know it's very hard after the launch, and the launch was so excellent. So it's really a pity. So please bear with me. My name is not Anna Pirani, unfortunately. Anna was supposed to moderate this session, but she's unwell and unfortunately is not here. So I'm stepping in and taking over. So you have to accept me as the moderator also the next session. Now, this session is a sort of composed by inspirational talks about mission adaptation, inspired by what's going on in mission adaptation. For those who never heard about mission adaptation, it's something like Destination Earth for the research, policy applied research on adaptation and resilience building in Europe. So it's equally important, right? Destination Earth is cutting edge, and climate Copernicus Climate Change Service, cutting edge technology, cutting edge modeling, capacity, cloud computing. Mission adaptation is the implementation, equally important, if not more important, in terms of policy impact and policy engagement. So we have again a panel of distinguished speakers. So I invite Philip to join me. I invite also Ariana. Ariana, yeah, please join me. And then we have two speakers providing a joint presentation online, and that's Michaela and Milana. So I will not spend more words. So Ariana, you might sit down.
Oh, okay.
And I would invite Philip. Philip Tulkens is the Deputy Manager of the EU Mission Adaptation to Climate Change. And he is head of unit at the European Commission, the Research and Innovation Directorate General. And Philip is one of the grandfather of the mission adaptation. So you will hear from the first hand what the mission is aiming at, what is being delivered, what has been done. So Philip, without any further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Yaro. Thank you for your kind words. Actually, you are amongst the fathers of this mission, along with Asun, with Daniela Jakob, whom we heard, and I want to thank all of you for having inspired the mission. And maybe we can go to the slides. Yes. So it's after lunch. I will use a microphone like this. Otherwise, you will see me always turning my head and you may actually fall asleep easier. So I don't know if you have heard, just a test. Have you heard about the EU mission on adaptation to climate change? And you can say no. Wow, we have a vast majority. This is an incredible crowd, but I don't think not representative of the reality. So if you have heard about it, that's very good. And I'm pleased to see that here in the audience today, we have representatives from regions and local authorities, because those are the beneficiaries of the mission. That's a first key message. The mission is entirely meant to bring transformative change in the regions and with the local authorities. So you are here to be served by the researchers. And I'm also pleased to see that there are some representatives from private companies. The mission offers opportunities for you as well. In the calls in Horizon Europe, but not only there, through the technical assistance, the service that the mission will offer. So thank you for being here. And the researchers, of course, I wish to thank you as well, because you are paid to bring the knowledge to this mission, and also to care for what happens to this knowledge that you have produced. And I hope that you care for its usage on the ground with the mission partners. Next slide. So I don't think that I need to remind you of the need to act on adaptation. This is a picture from Lugo in Emilia-Romagna, Provincia di Ravenna, in May 2023. And it's urgent to act for floods, for droughts, and other types of risks. Next slide, please. So where are we and why this mission? This mission is only an experiment at a defined scale and not that large, but we try to make as impactful as possible. You know that the EU has an adaptation strategy where every member state has obligations. The strategy was revised and the new one adopted in February 2021. And here for this presentation, I'll focus on Italy. I hope that others don't mind. My wife is Italian, so I had to do it. She even told me, do it in Italian. I said, okay, no, please. And at the national level, the strategy has been adopted in December 2023. You see, it's quite recent. And if you take an example at Rome, in Rome, they adopted a strategy in January 2024, even more recently. There are funds available for adaptation. If you take the recovery plan, 194.4 billion, with 39% of the available funds expected to go to climate objective. Is this happening? No, these are not the funds for the mission. These are the funds for the general policies. And it's really Italy and the member states in the recovery plan that decides on what type of activity they put the funding that they have available. Next slide, please. Within this, the mission, as I said, is an experiment. We work with a limited number of entities, some of them represented here. The mission has three main objectives. One, at the bottom of the pyramid, is to inform better on the risks faced. And this is valid for all Europeans, with the best science available, with the simulations done by the excellent centers that we heard this morning, ECMWF, and of course, through Paco's work as well. Second objective of the mission is to work with the regions concretely on their plans for and pathways to resilience. working with the regions doesn't mean send them a link. Please do that. Look at these data. No. No, it's literally taking them by a hand if they need it. If they need it, it's a voluntary process, bringing them technical assistance to meet their needs and progress in the journey. And also within this group of entities, we aim to deploy 75 demonstrators. And all this in a time period of 10 years. So the mission started in 2021 and our objectives are for 2030. Next slide. In terms of participation, so you see that on the map, some countries are participating much more than others, but we were not seeking a geographical balance. It's a voluntary process. So if some regions think that the EU can help, they may join. If others think they do it better alone, like in most of Germany, fine, no problem. They can do it. And the pleasure is to share the knowledge amongst the participants. If we put the focus on Italy, we have very different types of participants. Some cities, some regions, some whole island like Sicily, and some regions that have been particularly also affected by climate disasters or weather-related disasters in recent times. Il Veneto, they are present. I'm very happy to be here with you, and we can discuss concretely what the mission offers to you. We have 311 signatories of the mission's charter. Our objective was to have 150. Now we are way above. We closed the list. It's closed. You cannot join the mission anymore. And the budget was not increased. So we have we struggle a little bit with that. But we move forward with those who want to move faster within this group. We also ask them, what are the risks that you wish to address and how? What are your needs? There is a survey and the results of the survey are available. Next slide. Yeah, sometimes we hear in Brussels that the mission is not bringing enough to Italy or to others, and they complain and so on. While what we hear from the regions, most of them, is that they are quite happy. So I wanted to check this information because we are in times where every information needs to be checked. If you see amongst the beneficiaries from the member states, first is Spain, second, the Netherlands, and third, Italy. So not bad. If you see in terms of member states with most demonstration sites, Italy scores top of the list. And this is not even counting on the services offered by projects such as P2R, Climax. We'll hear about those projects and the other projects represented here. So Italy has seized some opportunities, can get more. And I invite all actors who are in the mission to really maximize this and seize every opportunity that is available to them. Next slide, please. So far, the mission has been mostly funded through Horizon Europe projects, but it doesn't mean that those are purely research projects. There are special types of projects. They go as much as possible towards the applied side of the activities. And we had, from the 2021 called, 9 running projects. I hope that the presentation will be available so you can link and go through or see on the website, the portal of the mission, which are the running projects. From the 2022 called, 16 projects, and this continues. Every year we have calls in Horizon, but the funding coming from Horizon is only part of the funding to the mission. Regions are encouraged to mobilize regional funds, live projects, and any other national or regional funding instruments to build the financing of their adaptation pathway and its implementation. Next slide. And in the context of the mission, I didn't have time to show that. What we privilege is all good solutions, and among those, the nature-based solutions. Very often, when we discuss with municipalities, be it in rural area or urban areas, we have engineers who have been trained with steel and concrete. And there are also other solutions that are effective and makes very good sense economically. Nature-based solutions are not a gadget. They are there to be deployed and tested, and this can be done through the mission. I'll just take 3 examples here, and please forgive me if you are working a project that is not on my slide. It's because I didn't have enough time and enough slides, and I had to select some projects. So one in mountainous regions, another one also addressing the resilience of landscape, and third one, you can look at what are the projects, who benefits from the projects, who is involved, and connect to them to offer your knowledge or your services, or maybe if you work in these areas, or if you are from this area, you wish to connect to your local environment. This also helps a lot and brings progress across the board. Next slide, and I'm almost done. That's the last one indeed. So I would encourage you to have a look at the mission portal that is hosted in the European Environmental Agency, just next to the Climate Adapt repository. I'm sure you know that one. And you can also register to the monthly newsletter of the mission. Please engage, participate, take the opportunities, and you will see it's such a great pleasure to see that things are changing on the ground, and your work is not only to publish papers or produce reports. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Philip, for this nice overview. One of those projects that you have not mentioned is actually coordinated by Ariana. And Ariana Cecchi is a senior researcher at the ARTER, which is the Innovation Hub of Emilia-Romagna region. And this entity is coordinating a project which is called Arcadia. And Ariana will bring us into more the implementation sides, the challenges of the project when they are implemented on the ground that Philip has mentioned. But before passing over the floor to Ariana, Philip, well done. Congratulations for the great achievements in the mission adaptation. It looks very good. And thank you very much for all that support. Ariana, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Yaro. Let me set the time.
Yep.
Okay, yes. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here. Don't steal it from me. Thank you. Can I? Okay.
But it will not be seen from us.
Okay. So I'm very happy to be here representing the project Arcadia, of which I am the coordinator. So this is the first public introduction of the project to the rest of the world. We just started, and I'm sure I'm eager to be part of your tables to populate your indicators and your slides in the next months. So the project Arcadia is giving me the, let's say, the stimulus, the prompt to discuss about climate service related to nature-based solution. Our project just started, as I said, so I'm not going to present actual solutions or actual climate services that we have deployed, but just give, let's say, use the project as a way to open up the discussion about which climate services are needed to support pathway to resilience through nature-based solution of European regions. In our case, it's 8 European regions. So Arcadia is funded by Horizon Europe under a topic related to the mission adaptation to climate change, of which you know everything now. And just some figures, we are 43 partners, of which the majority, it's not rolling.
You need to
I need to, or maybe I use this. Okay.
Yes,
Ta-da.
next slide, please.
Yes, okay. This was just next one. And go on. Okay, stop here. I was saying the project, just iBird view of the project, is 43 partners, of which 30 are public bodies or public related bodies. So there's a tremendous potential in this project to actually deploy things on the ground because we have decision makers. But we also have, this is very relevant also for the topic today, 13 technical providers and scientific partners. So this is where the climate services are going to come from, and they need to be developed together with the users, the public bodies. We cover 9 countries, and this is the budget. We just started, and we are going to last for the next 4.5 years. Next slide, please. It works? Okay. Okay. I'm not going to go through the whole objective, just some key elements. We are about transformative innovation and as the mission, of course. So we are a project of the mission. And at the core of the project are regions and communities, again, very coherently with the mission. And what we are going to do in the project is not the actual implementation on the ground of the nature-based solution, but we are going to build the capacity for our partners to be able to deploy nature-based solution at large scale. And for that, we are going to provide them with tools and guidance, but also financial instruments, policy guidance, and planning instruments. These are the regions of our projects. And now I'm going to, what I did for today is to propose you a high-level overview of the activities that the 5 model regions are developing in the projects. We also have 3 fellow regions from Bulgaria, Romania, and Slovenia. And let's take a look into what the regions are doing. So in Emilia-Romagna, from Italy, the challenge that Emilia-Romagna is tackling is to increase the territorial resilience, especially resilience to exceptional rainfall flooding, as the picture before was showing, through sustainable and active forest management. So that means that to make the whole, also the floodplain resilient, we act upstream at mountain areas. The areas of work that might be relevant for climate services are, first of all, they will develop pilot forest land use plans, and with these plans, they will address erosion protection, hydrological safety, valorization of forest natural capital, ecosystem services, including payment for ecosystem services, and enhancement of water-related ecosystem services. In Lower Austria, the challenges are related to heat island, heat and heat-related stress in urban areas, drought in agriculture, and runoff erosions. And they will work on water management in urban areas, multifunctional shelter belt in agricultural landscape to create corridors to protect and increase biodiversity, and also to increase water retention from soil. They are going to build urban green spaces that are also community green spaces, because the governance is going to include community at a very intense level. And then they also want to mainstream the nature-based solutions identified to all the municipalities of the region, because climate services are certainly useful also to mainstream site-specific activities to other sites. A quite interesting example is from these 2 counties, the Zagreb city and Krapina-Zagorje in Croatia. They have different challenges. In Zagreb, they are more urban related, so heat island and flooding. In Krapina-Zagorje is more rural related, so they have a problem with, they will tackle landslides, risk, and biodiversity loss due to agricultural practice. So what they want to do is to develop spatial planning with a synergistic approach of mitigation and adaptation. And spatial planning, of course, enforces all the activities that cascades on the territory. So it's very important. This planning will build upon a geospatial data system where climate-related data, mitigation data, and adaptation data are all present, and they can be integrated and analyzed all together. They will also need modeling of nature-based solution, assessing of climate risk in their territory. And also they will use this GIS tool to identify optimum area for deployment of nature-based solution. Skåne in Sweden, I hope I pronounced it well, is dealing with floodings and droughts. And they will work on water cycle strategy and also identify optimum spaces for nature-based solution, trying to identify the trade-off between urban spaces and, let's say, more natural spaces. And also another area of work that they have mentioned is to deepen the knowledge about climate risk. Last, Funen in Denmark. The challenges that they are dealing with, they are tackling are all water related. So cloudbursts and heavy precipitation from on top, shallow groundwater rising from below, flooding from streams and lakes, but also storm surges and rising sea level. So basically it's a 360 water related challenges and risks. So they are going to work for sure on integrated water cycle strategy, sustainable drainage system, where they also want to generate data through citizen science. So we are here from Earth observation to citizen science, very different scales. Protection from flooding from streams, and also creating a network of blue-green infrastructure. So these are the areas of work that where for sure climate services will be needed, applied, and relevant. One of our partners, Ecosistema, just to give you an idea of what one of the climate services that we might deploy in our project might look like. This is an existing case, but I think it's very explanatory of what we might need. So I'm borrowing these slides. Tomorrow in the morning session, you will have a much wider, extensive presentation. So this is the case of the city of Rimini on the coastline of Emilia-Romagna, where they have desealed completely an area. It's this triangle, this wedge, green wedge. It was roads and parking lots before, now is a green park, which is slightly elevated from the ground level with artificial dunes. So what Ecosistema, together with CNCC, I think, did is, first of all, to understand the hazard. So they have identified all the data needed to model the hazards at different return time. And then simulate what would happen with and without the sea park. Thank you. With and without the sea park. And indeed, as you can appreciate on the left side of these pictures, this is what would happen without the sea park, the Parco del Mare, and how much the water would penetrate the city fabric, and also at building level. And on the right end, you see what would happen with the sea park implemented, which is basically nothing. The city is safe in that part of the city. And also with this service, they are able to assess the damage not only from a physical point of view, as you can see here, but also from the economic point of view, which is extremely relevant for planning and decision makers, because they know if the entity that they are investing in the nature-based solution makes sense somehow from a decision maker point of view, from a public body point of view. So this is basically my presentation. It was just an open interlocutory presentation, and maybe we can deepen the discussion later in the panel. Thank you.
Very much, Ariana. It was brilliant. So we had the overview about the mission adaptation. We have the insight about the research and information needs that the region needs to implement when they are running through the nature-based transformative processes. Now, our last keynote speaker in this session, two basically, they will be connected online. They will speak about developing a new framework for climate risk assessment and the toolbox. So it's similar in the aim, like Climate Europe 2, there's establishing a new guiding principle, bottom-up standards for conducting regional climate risk assessment and equipping, empowering the regions with tools to do these type of analysis that Ariana mentioned, Rimini, Parco Mare. So we have them online. Michaela Bachmann is from IASA, and Milana Vukovic is from ECMWF, and they represent the Climax project, and they will introduce the framework and the toolbox. And this project is contributing to the first objective that Philip mentioned, empowering the regions with climate insight, climate risk information and intelligence. So Michaela and Milana, thank you for being with us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jacopo. I hope everyone can hear me. Great. Yeah, Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to present the Climax project to you today. Together with Milana from ECNWF, as Yara just said. Unfortunately, we could not be with you in person today, but I hope you are having a good festival. What is and does the Climax project? Slide. Now it works. So Climax is a EU Horizon project which supports the EU mission adaptation by providing financial, analytical, and practical support for regional and local climate risk assessments. The central theme of this festival is standardization of climate knowledges and services, and Climax is contributing to the standardization by making the regional climate risk assessment transparent and comparable. For this, we have a conceptual framework and a practical toolbox which is being co-developed by our pilots to test the data needs and the diversity of requests. Climax provides a cascading fund and financial support for more than 50 European regions to help them getting ready for climate change. We extended our application deadline until the 22nd of March 2024. Therefore, you can still apply for this wonderful project, and you're also warmly welcome to do so on the homepage climax.eu. The Climax methodological framework is based on 3 pillars forming the conceptual background. For the climate risk assessment principles, we have, for example, social justice and equity. For the technical choices below, we have, for example, guidance on scenarios, models, downscaling, and horizons. Time horizons and participatory processes in the middle are very central to the framework, and they comprise of learning, communication, and consultation. This background then fosters the 5 operational steps that guide through the iterative climate risk assessment. These are scoping, risk identification, risk analysis, key risk assessment, and the 5th step, monitoring and evaluation. The framework steps also introduce the climate risk analysis tool, also called the toolbox for the climate risk assessment, for the quantitative climate risk assessment itself. It leads from the risk identification step to the risk analysis step and is marked here in orange. The scoping step supports regions in defining their objectives, setting the context and considering participatory processes, the extent of the participatory processes which are needed or wanted. Then the risk identification step already leads to the practical toolbox by exploring risk and choosing relevant scenarios or several risk workflows which consider floods, droughts, heat waves, fire, snow, and or wind. The risk analysis step then applies the workflows and quantifies the climate risks. And in a few minutes, Milana will tell you a bit more about this step in more detail. The key risk, the risk output can then be contextualized by assessing risk severity and risk urgency in the key risk assessment step. This can happen through expert and non-expert consultations and other approaches. Finally, the outcome of this key risk assessment step will be key risks and less urgent risks. The key risks should feed into the climate risk management funnel that you can see on the left-hand side here. While less urgent risks, also marked here in yellow, will directly feed into the monitoring and evaluation step. In in the monitoring and evaluation step, then the focus lies on monitoring the climate risk assessment, the climate risks, and evaluating the climate risk assessment itself. Here, learning is a key outcome, as data, knowledge, or also further needs can be included in the next climate risk assessment cycle. And with this overview of the conceptual framework, I would like to give the word to Milana, who will now tell you a bit more about the practical aspects of our climate risk assessment cycle.
Hello, my name is Milana Vučković, and I work at ECNWF, which is one of the partners in the Climax project. I will try to present the Climax toolbox in the next 5 minutes. Next slide. And to explain better what the toolbox is, I will try to use a kitchen analogy. So here we have a chef who is a European expert in climate risk assessment, and they have a bakery store, and bakery store holds not only the dishes, the examples of climate risk assessment, but also the recipes and all the additional information about the dishes and ingredients needed to cook the dishes to do the climate risk assessment. This bakery store is our Climax handbook that holds the methodological framework and the toolbox. From the bakery store, user can get a recipe, and then they can bring the recipe and ingredients to their own kitchen. The recipe will hold the information about the methodology for the climate risk assessment, what ingredients, meaning data, is needed for this, and where to get the ingredients, how to process them to create the dish. The kitchen can be any place where we can process the data. So it can be a public cloud space, it can be a Climax special cloud-based Jupyter Hub, for example, or users can use their own local computer to cook. Some of the regions will create dishes they want to share with others, and for that, Climax Toolbox will also enable this sharing, because all the recipe, current and future ones, live in a GitHub, which is collaborative platform for coding and for version control. Next slide. As I mentioned in the beginning, the bakery store is a website in the form of a Jupyter book, which holds all the cookbooks, recipes, ingredients, as well as Climax methodological framework in one place. It acts as an entry point to several data portals such as JRC's Risk Data Hub or Copernicus Climate Data Store, as well as many more technical and non-technical resources that might help with to do climate risk assessment. Next slide. In the bakery store, the users can look at the recipes. However, they can also use them as cookbooks. Each risk recipe lives in GitHub repository, so together with a form of Jupyter notebooks where everything is explained, and supply closet of the data. This can be access to the data or in well-established data stores, but also some of the data that is calculated by Climax partners and made available for other regions, or the data needed for the calculations, such as damage curves. Finally, the files needed for the installation of libraries are also available in the GitHub repository of each workflow. Next slide. Users can choose to work with the workflows in 3 workspaces. For now, they can be explored in public My Binance service. This is a small cloud space where these Jupyter notebooks from the kitchen can be executed. However, this space is small. It has limited resources, and all the work that is done in exploring the workflow is not saved. But the good consequences of this is that it can be used as a sandbox to just try out things and knowing that nothing can be broken. You can just close it and start again and play and learn. Next workspace is ECNWF cloud-based Jupyter Hub. This will be available only for the selected participants in the Climax open call. And here they will have all the cookbooks and all the materials already available for them, and all the libraries already installed, so then they can start more easily without actually needing to know how to install things or how to copy the data. Finally, all the cookbooks are open and publicly available, so they can be downloaded locally and used and modified freely by anybody. Next slide. So far we have created several workflows for different hazards based on literature and using European data. We have done this in collaboration with our pilots and their local technical partners. But the mechanism here is to close the loop and enable the co-creation of the new workflows from users' kitchen back to our bakery store. So we will follow the work of beneficiaries of the open call and organize show and tell sessions of their work. And the selected workflow will be reviewed and added to the handbook, enriching our collection of the climate risk assessment examples. And here you can find the link to our handbook, which is currently in the making. So it will be updated throughout this year, but you can always have a look on the link provided. And that was in short about toolbox.
Thank you very much, Milana and Michaela. Now, I hope you have grasped the architecture. So there is a mission, EU mission adaptation to climate change, which is empowering the regions and local authorities to speed up the adaptation planning and so on. The regions form the consortia together with research entities, but especially the different policy entities, specify what they need to do in order to accelerate the transformative processes. And then there are other supporting activities of the mission, like Climax, that are empowering those that are dealing with the improved risk assessment with the tools, data access, and everything, the cookbooks. So with that, I would like to open the discussion out, and I'm happy to take the question from the floor first. Yeah, we have one there. We can take 3 questions, a round of 3 questions. So we have 1, 2. Give me more. Okay.
I go. Thank you. Roberto Mezzalama, I work for WSP, that is an engineering company. And I wanted actually to ask this question at the end of the previous session, but there was no time. So I go back to maybe one step, but hopefully it's useful. I just wanted to bring you the perspective of the real final users, okay, of the data that are then the people that are designing stuff. Because every day now we receive demands that in the engineering world they are not yet met. Engineers design often based on engineering codes. They have to take responsibilities on what they do. They are used to design looking at the rear mirror, looking at historic data. They're not used to design looking at future data. And I think that, I see a real gap in, how can I say, reaching the floor, reaching the drawing desk of the people that are designing. And as we speak, there are a number of critical infrastructures that are being designed with no tools, with no data, and with no support of the kind that is needed, okay, to design really resilient infrastructures. So I really urge the room here, to take the completely opposite perspective, that is to look at what do you need to design a resilient infrastructure, but also to design it according to building codes, engineering codes, local regulations, professional liability insurances that are demanding a certain thing from the designers, and so on and so forth. Because I think that a lot of things that I've heard today, they get to the point of planning. But after you planned, then there is the design, okay? And even I urge the municipalities and the regions, once you've taken a decision and you say, I'm going to do this, then somebody has to do it. I finish here. Thank you.
Roberto. Well, we take one question from the back, right? And then Asun, right?
Thank you for your presentation. I would like to follow up and ask you whether this toolbox relies on open source data.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Asun, is it a question or is it a reply to Robert? Question. Can we first give the floor to the panelists? So one more question to the panelists, please. No? Okay. So we have two questions. Paul, right over there, right? Sorry, I didn't see that.
Okay, my name is Ewa Paderewska. I'm from Poland. I have a question regarding the Arcadia project. I found it really extremely interesting. And I have a question, and also my question relates a bit to what Roberto said, because I also cooperate strictly with engineers and designers. And I do understand and get this dilemma that you mentioned. Because I think that the best incentive for investors, for engineers and designers is money. So for example, within the project, will it be revealed what are the actual costs of the adaptation measures established and the costs of possible damages caused by climate disasters when no adaptation measures were designed?
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So let me summarize. We have three questions. Roberto mentioned how to make sure that those that might benefit from the climate risk assessment are invited to draw desk and be involved in designing the toolbox. This is especially important for Michaela and Milana. And the second question is whether the toolbox is going to be open access. And the third question is on Arcadia, to what extent the cost of actions are being considered. So shall we start with Michaela and Milana?
I think the second question is for Milana, and Yaro, could you kindly say again the first question?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think the second question is for Milana, right? And could you repeat the first question?
Yeah, the first question was more a comment. It was not a question, but it was mentioned by those that might benefit from climate risk assessment are not those that are invited to the draw desk, right? So there's a mismatch between, to what extent the climate risk assessment is meant on the strategic level, strategic orientation towards adaptation on medium to long term, and what is the project level, the asset level that needs to be climate proof, right? And there's a mismatch between those two levels and those people that are being invited to the drawing desk, right?
Yes, that is definitely true. But the Climax project also tries to bring it more on the ground and to support regions which really need this support. So when the regions or when the call is done, I think the regions should also be chosen regarding their special needs. So regions who have less opportunities will have more possibilities in joining the Climax project.
Thank you, Michaela. Milana?
Yes, for the open data question, yes, all of the data, European data and global data that is currently in the toolbox is open, and all the data produced by Climax partners is open. However, some of the local data, it might happen that it is not open. Here we will provide just the example data on how to work with this local data. However, some partners will have the data that is not open, and that can't be provided. But examples will be provided and open.
Thank you very much. Ariana, the question to Arcadia.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I also think it's a promising project. We are now in the phase of planning the activities at regional level. But as you might have seen from the presentation, some requests are already quite clear, and some of these are really on the side of understanding the risk from any point of view. So not only physical damage, the hazard, of course, the risk itself and the damage, but also the economic side of it. So all the deliverables of the project will be open and available. So I think that whatever comes out in terms of cost is there. But I also want to stress the fact that this morning there was this discussion about global data and high level scale, like large scale and local scale. In our project, we really work at local scale, and the needs and the climate services are driven by the needs, and they are site specific. So also the any assessment or any outcomes related to costs, and especially on the economic side, would be, of course, site specific. So they need this kind of lens to be read. But yeah, this is my reply.
Yeah, thank you. Philip?
Yeah, very quickly. I like very much your intervention, the first one. Looking at the future. You have to operate within building codes, and the norms are not really prepared for the future. That's a very good point, and researchers can help in addressing this. But the authorities also need to look forward and adapt the codes. And also financial institutions also need to look at the future. We spend hours and hours and hours in discussing with the public banks and the EIB, other public banks, where projects on adaptation are always seen as non-bankable, while projects on mitigation now are very profitable. But you know, some years ago, the projects on mitigation were not bankable. So things change, and we need to bring change everywhere. On the technical side, engineering, the codes, the standards, and I'm sure Climate Europe too will help in this regard, but also the way cost-benefit analysis are done for projects. Otherwise, we cannot adapt to the future.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I'm looking, Asun, one question. Is there any more that we can take? Okay, so first Asun.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to complement a little bit what Philly was saying regarding your very important point, because in fact, there is already movement on adapting norms and standards. So all the standards that are related to infrastructure, engineering standards for bridges, for whatever, are actually in the process of being revised to be adapted to climate change. So what this means is that you need several layers of standardization where those standards need to be incorporated with a climate risk assessment. And then at the same time, we will need to make sure that there is a standardized use of climate information in those risk assessments and incorporated on those revised standards. It's going to take a while, but that is part of the adaptation challenge.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. I'll just to remind you that there will be a World Cafe discussion on the tables, and one or more tables are dedicated also to critical infrastructure. So there might be a nice place to continue this discussion. Looking at the audience, is there any more question to our panelists? Yes, Paco?
Today, the European Climate Risk Assessment Report has been published, and the headline is Europe is not prepared for rapidly changing climate risks. The question is, how do the projects plan to incorporate these surprises that are not in the data that we have, not for the present, for sure, and not for the future, as the European Climate Risk Assessment Report has already explained and illustrated?
Brilliant question. So I'm looking at Michaela and Milana, whether you have a thought on that. Otherwise, Ariana or Philip.
Maybe I will say it from the framework side. So of course there will be unexpected things that might happen, but the framework is designed in a way that it's very flexible and can be adapted to certain processes. Of course, it will base on data and scenarios that are available, but these are also being looked at. And regarding the data, this is probably, I don't know, Milana, if you want to say something like this.
Well, we are constantly looking at what new data is available, and we try to make the toolbox flexible, not to have currently available data, but also for users to be able to use their own local data, the data that might come. So we are trying to be prepared as much as we can, and doing this with using open source tools and open data helps a lot.
Brilliant. If I may add to that, I know that the principles and the framework for regional climate risk assessment is incorporating the same elements as EUCRA, the European Climate Risk Assessment, the storylines approach, imagination, what might happen, how those risks might get propagated and exacerbated and so on. So I think it's a shift of mindset that we are observing, not only at the European level, but also regional. Brilliant. I would have one question to Philip, if I may, as the moderator, because the audience is composed by many Italian regional and local authorities. And I know that you have said that in your presentation, but could you perhaps pick up a few keywords? What is the real added value for them to work with the EU mission? I mean, what is the added value of working directly with the European Commission for them, that they are taking care of the regional and local matters for adaptation? Would you have a thought on that?
Yeah, I will take the example of the Netherlands. They were quite skeptical about the mission when it was being designed, because they are the experts in water management, in particular on the excess of water. They know very well the risks and the threats, and they have changed completely their mind. Now they are very happy of the mission, because not only they are learning from others, from the Southern Europeans, on how to address drought, and drought is an issue also in the Netherlands, but they are also selling their services to others, their knowledge, through the mission to address floods. And in the case of Italy, I think it's urgent to act. We heard in the presentation from the Meteorological Service that the fragmentation is a big issue. The goal of the mission is to address this. We can lament ourselves everywhere, not only in Italy, about fragmentation. I'm Belgian and I know what I'm talking about. Fragmentation occurs there as well. But we can address this, and the mission is an opportunity to address this and to connect directly the regions, the local entities, to the best knowledge available in Europe, without too many layers. We are also involving the national contact points, and every level of this multi-level governance is involved in the process. But since the mission is about accelerating change, we need to reach out to the regions and the end users much faster to address the risks that we know and those that we don't know, because your question, Paco, was about that. I mean, that's even more difficult. If we could address already the risks that we know about, and we know even more today, indeed, the climate risk assessment is out. Have a look, but it's another call for action. What we want to do in the mission is to act.
I think this nicely wraps up this part of the discussion. Thank you very much, Philip. This was really impactful. So as we are moving towards the Water Cafe session, more interactive session, well, first the coffee break and so on. But before, we have prepared a few teasers for you. So locally grounded initiatives that might anticipate what will be presented and discussed at the Water Cafe tables. So at this stage, I would like to invite three pitch presenters from this session. And that's Dina Del Tosto from Aquila City, Cristina Coelho from Setúbal, right? And Nicola Logisci from representing another mission-oriented project, Agora, as the public presentation. Now, thank you very much for being here. What we would like you to do is to give us a taste of what you're doing on ground, what kind of challenges you are facing, and what is the level of ambition of what you are doing. So you would have 5 minutes, and we take that one after the other. And there will be 5 7-minute time for questions before we go to the coffee break, and then we will be discussing this matter at the World Cafe table. So may I start with Dina Del Tosca to give us the flavor of what you're doing in Aquila City. And Aquila is a mission signatory, mission adaptation signatory, so among those 300 cities. Right.
Yes, thank you. My slide, please. Okay. Thank you. Next slide. Okay. Okay. When we talk about climate change, we need to understand the role of the city, because we live in an urbanizing world. For example, by 2050, about 2/3 of mondial population we will live in cities. And it is in urban areas that the challenge to climate change will be won or lost. Thank you. Okay. Next slide. Okay. L'Aquila is a mountain city. It's a capital city of Abruzzo region, and it's located among the Apennines, and it's near the highest mountain of Apennines, the Gran Sasso mountain. The role of mountain areas is very important to understand climate change, because the effects of climate change are manifesting in mountain areas with different ways. For example, avalanches, floods, landslide, and all of this is a risk for infrastructure, city, and the people. This is first result. These are the first results of a study of SETEMS of University of L'Aquila about temperature trend and temperature and precipitation trend in L'Aquila. From this analysis, it can be deduced that in the last 30 years, the temperature is increased about 1 degree. From this analysis, it can be deduced the major ways to adaptation level. For example, we study different ways to adaptation to climate change in L'Aquila. This is a current precipitation trend. From this analysis, it can be deduced what action is appropriate to safeguard the water resource for all uses. What action? L'Aquila is working on the use of nature-based solution with different ways and different projects. For example, this is an experimental program for adaptation to climate change in urban areas of Italian Ministry of Environment. L'Aquila has involved 3 different projects: urban forestry, a big urban forestry in an area near to L'Aquila, it is planned to plan about 600 native trees, 2 rain gardens, and 1 water square. For the native species of tree, we use a study of University of L'Aquila. This is our first results of this study. University a study temperature trend and precipitation trend for identify the native tree species that we can adapt to increase in temperature in the coming year. For example, we will use Quercus ilex, Quercus pubescent for the project of forestation in L'Aquila. This is another example of a project of L'Aquila, the river contract of Aterno. The Aterno River Contract is an important tool for mitigation and adaptation to climate change. It is a voluntary instrument to restore and protect the river in different ways. L'Aquila is the capital city of Aterno River Contract with 28 municipalities, 1 national park, Gran Sasso National Park, and 1 regional park, Sirente Velino National Park. The action plan on Aterno River will use nature-based solution, different nature-based solution for river development. For example, river buffers, fluvial corridors, and another ways to river development and hydrological risk management. Between the project of L'Aquila, there are mission to adaptation climate change, and L'Aquila is in 1 program of net zero city with Drammen in Norway. We will study with Drammen different way to restore river and nature-based solution. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dina. So you have noticed there is a specific demand on assessing the trends in temperature, precipitation, advising the local communities that are implementing nature-based solution and what species, tree species might be best suitable for the future. But what Dina also mentioned is this river contract. This is a bottom-up governance, multilateral governance mechanism that is quite widespread in Italy, in Spain, I think in France especially. So it's an interesting governance, bottom-up, inclusive governance approach worthwhile to visit. Christina, to you. So Setúbal is one of the pilot study of the Climax, and we are keen to hear about what you are doing and how you are co-designing, helping to co-design the toolbox.
Thank you for inviting us. Good afternoon. I'll try to keep the schedule with 5 minutes. Can I have also my presentation here? Thank you. It's easier. Yeah. So, Setúbal is one of the Climax pilots. The Climax project has 5 pilots who are testing the framework and the toolbox that Milana and Michaela spoke earlier. And what I'm about to show you, it's what we have been doing in terms of as a pilot. And also, I think it's a good demonstration for people who want to go for the call to see how the toolbox and the framework works and how they can use it on their own territories. So as I was saying, sorry, thank you, sorry. Setúbal, it's a Portuguese municipality, south of Lisbon, 15 kilometers south of Lisbon, and it's been working on the climate project for a year now as a pilot. So each pilot on the Climax project, it's working on two main risks. We chose first to work on fast floods, and next we'll try to work on wildfires. And I'm going to present you on this presentation today what we have been doing with fast floods. Setúbal territory is like a little bit like a butterfly, where the city is in the middle at the butterfly corpses, and then the two wings are two main natural areas, the Rábida Park and the Sado estuary. And we have been having some flooding problems. As you can see, this is the city hall, the main city hall building. This was in 2008, and my colleagues were being rescued by our fire department colleagues by boat. So this was a big problem in Setúbal for centuries now, because we have the slopes from the Rábida mountain coming down with all the water to the Setúbal city center. And it was a risk that we had to tackle. As you can see, this is an old photo, and it has been a problem since a lot of years, with economical damages and loss of lives also. So we had already in Setúbal the scenarios for climate impacts and main risks for the Rábida mountain area. It was made by our main partner concerning climate risks that it is got. It's from the University of Lisbon. And what we have been doing is to merge our local information from the University of Lisbon with the Climax toolbox and framework, mainly with the Copernicus platform and CAJO help. So as you can see, you have here on the map the scenarios for RCP 4.5 and 8.5 with the susceptibility. You can see it at the city center in the middle of the territory, the main susceptibility area, and also the hazards concerning flash floods. And we had already this information from the Lisbon University. Then what we did was to cross that information with the information about residential buildings, strategic or vital or sensitive equipments like hospitals, schools, and with roads and railways, because we have a very big international port in Setúbal, in the estuary Sado, and it's a very economic, important area for us, but also for the entire district and also for the national economy. So we crossed the information with the infrastructure that will be exposed on fast flooding, and we came with this map that is quite, I think I don't have to explain it. We have the susceptibility, the exposed elements, and some other elements that we considered important as residential buildings and vital. For instance, in this blue area, signalized, we have the fire department headquarters in the middle. So it can be a very big problem. We also crossed this information with the vulnerable population, because we are a very old city. We have a medieval wall, and we have the more susceptible population inside that area. So for us, it's also important to cross those references. And now I would like to show a small video about what we have been doing to tackle this risk. And I need sound, please. Thank you.
Increases the risk of floods, a phenomenon exacerbated by climate change. To address this issue, the Setúbal City Council invested over 3 million euros in the Várzea Urban Park, where retention basins were constructed to prevent flooding in the downtown during heavy rainfall. In this park, we prioritize nature-based solutions because we believe that nature is the best teacher. We have kept the soil as natural as possible, prioritized native vegetation, and emphasize the protection of existing biodiversity. So this is the most innovative park in Europe. It's the first constructed with nature-based solutions on such a significant scale, combining urban characteristics and allowing people to enjoy nature in the heart of the city.
Just to a small appointment, because it wasn't available, the sound from the beginning, but we made 2 big retaining basins to tackle this fast flooding problem. And we already have some results. It's resulting, it's tackling, but it's tackling right now. When we put it the heaviest, the worst scenarios on this, we're not quite sure what is going to happen right now. And we hope Climax will help us with this. But what we are doing right now, it's to enhance the capacity of absorption of that soil, having a very big plantation of trees and also implementing nature-based solution on that area in order to enhance their capacity for this risk of fast flooding. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Christina. This is a nice example where how the researcher work side by side with local authorities in order to develop and improve climate risk assessment and learn from this execution into, putting it into a toolbox and making it available for the others. Now, third, pitch presenter, Nicola. Nicola will talk about, is it Agora, right? Yes, about how to, another project funded from the Mission Adaptation that is exploring new ways of engaging with public authorities. So Nicola, over to you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for inviting me, giving me the possibility to speak about this project, which is called the Agora, which is an acronym for, as you can read, a gathering place to co-design and co-create adaptation. As you can see, it's always about adaptation. So that means to reduce the impact of climate change in the present and in the future, defining measures and strategies. So let's go on. Agora is, as already said, is an Horizon Europe initiative. Is a pretty new, quite new, because it started in 2023 in January. It's coordinated by CMCC. Agora aligns with the overall goals of the European Mission on Climate Change Adaptation, promoting social transformation processes in diverse contexts through transdisciplinary tools and approach. So we want to engage the citizen and also communities. The project, as said, encourages effective engagement of citizens and communities in action against climate change, accelerating and expanding local adaptation processes to build a Europe resilient. So how is Agora acting in this respect? We are defining tools, especially digital tools, in order to engage the citizens and communities. And also we want to develop practices for the local engagement. So talking about the tools, the digital tools we are developing are these 4 listed in this slide. A digital Agora, which is the main place where you can find information about the project, but also we will develop two digital academies where we will involve the citizens. The first digital academy will be focused on climate data, which means we will teach citizen communities and other peoples where to retrieve and how to use the climate data. And in this case, we don't want them to be researchers, but just we want them to be introduced to the official data and to be involved in this stuff. The other digital academy will be focused on disinformation, because we think that the disinformation is one of the main, if the main barrier to implement the adaptation procedures. The other digital tools we are developing are a mobile app that will go together with the Academy on Disinformation, and a digital handbook. All this stuff will be tested on 4 pilot areas that are shown in this slide: in Italy, in Spain, in Germany, and in Sweden. Regarding the tools and also the practices to involve the citizens, we already have organized the 4 inception workshops in these 4 pilot areas. The first one was held in the middle of September in Sweden. The other one at the end of October in Spain. The other one in the beginning of November in Italy. And at the middle of November in Germany, we had the last inception workshops. All these inception workshops have been focused on different topics, each one regarding the area that are affected the most. We are planning also during this year to have more workshops. We just started with a series of webinars on some topics regarding climate change adaptations. But we don't have only these pilot areas. We want to have also followers. Followers in this project means a way to enlarge the Agora community. So we want, whenever we have regions or association, organization, or simply citizens and institutions that want to be involved in this process, and they can contact us and be part of the game. This will, let's say, speed up the procedures to reach the goals of the project in terms of adaptation. If you are interested in this project and you want to be follower, you can just scan this QR code and be more involved in the stuff of the project. And meanwhile, in the Work Cafe, we will have also an activity conducted by my colleague, the Swiss colleague Enora. Thank you, Enora. That will talk about the project. And also we will have another project, which is iChange. This will be conducted by me and another colleague of mine, where we will talk about citizen science and the involvement of citizens in the adaptation to climate change. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for these short teasers, appetizers, what will happen after the coffee break. So I will just give you an instruction what happens now. So we stop here with the panel and pitch presentation, and we dedicate the rest of the day for interaction, talking around what cafe tables in the marketplace, in the breakout rooms, and so on. So we will have now half an hour coffee break. After 30 minutes, there will be, there will be 8 tables, World Cafe tables here that you can pick up. Those World Cafe tables will cover Climax project, what we have learned from the colleagues connected online. There will be one World Cafe table dedicated to Arcadia project that will be managed by Ariana. Another World Cafe table dedicated to Desermet, another demonstrator project that will be covered by Elisa. Elisa, are you here? Yeah, over there, Elisa is in the back room. Then there will be one table dedicated, managed by Nicola that Ellie already mentioned, iChange. Natalie, Garrett, Natalie, where are you? Yeah, over there. Natalie will manage a World Cafe table dedicated to the UK National Framework for Climate Services. I'm looking forward to that. And then we have Agora, Enora, that will be, yes, Enora will manage the World Cafe table dedicated to Agora. And we have also MIP for Adapt, Marina over there. She will be mission implementation platform for mission adaptation. So she will be able to tell you more about what is being delivered and so on. Then my colleague Stefano over there, he will be managing the table on the insurance and the PISA project, developing a nice insurance product, so based on the climate information. The marketplace, Christian will talk about uncertainty. Christian is over there, together with Charlotte, and yeah. So there's a lot of rich program of interactions. You might move around, you might follow the discussion, ask questions, learn more about those what is needed, what can we take as the lessons learned for development of climate services, what kind of questions we need to ask ourselves, and what are the solutions to the challenges that we are facing. Then after this round of World Cafe and interactions, there's basically the end of today's program. But remember that there's a social dinner in Venice, right? And so my colleagues will give you the instruction how to get there. We will organize a group of people that will take you to the island, to the Venice island. And we will then wrap up the day during the social dinner with a glass of wine, aperitivo, for those that wish to do so. Ariana wanted to make a picture of today, right? Ariana, is it correct? So, yeah. Yes, it's her fault. It's only her fault. Come over here, please. Yeah.
Yes, just a minute before going to the coffee break. If you could come this way, we will go outside for the picture. Thank you.